Welcome to the News Hour. We begin in The Hague, where the International Court of Justice is holding its last day of hearings, examining the legality of Israel's decade-long occupation of Palestinian lands. 50 countries and 3 international organisations have addressed the court. Most called for Israel's occupation to be declared illegal and for it to end.
We condemn with the same force the crimes committed by Israel, the occupying power, and the settlers in the West Bank and in the city of Al-Quds al-Shari. We denounce the refusal by Israel, the occupying power, to end its illegal occupation of Palestinian territory, as well as the multiple violations of norms of international law brought about by this continuing occupation, and we deplore the inability of the Security Council to uphold international law, to halt this spiral of violence and to render justice to the Palestinian people.
Representative of the Arab League, Abdel Hakim El-Rafai, spoke a little earlier. He called on the court to end what it says is Israel's total impunity.
The League of Arab States attaches high importance to the present proceedings, hoping that they contribute to safeguarding the principles of international law, to uphold the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people to self-determination, and end the last oppressive, expansionist, apartheid, settler, colonial occupation still standing in the 21st century. The persistence of this occupation, acts of genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, crimes against humanity, displacement of populations, imprisonment of Palestinians behind illegal segregation walls, expansion of illegal settlements, creating new political realities on the ground, aiming at complicating the dismantling of the occupation. All will never discourage Palestinians from claiming their legitimate, inalienable rights. The insistence on placing Israel above the law through the politicization of accountability and adopting double standards in the application of justice is a direct threat to international peace and stability. Ending Israel's total impunity and subjecting it, like any other state, to the universal rules of international law will help annul its pretexts to systematically reject peace initiatives.
Let's bring in Al Jazeera senior political analyst Marwan Bishara to discuss this further. We've been following events today, but we've been following them for 2 weeks since this hearing began. And little did we know, perhaps, Marwan, that when we first were seeing the lineup of countries that were going to be talking, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Algeria, we thought they're the heavyweights right at the top. But today, not just impassioned speeches by the Organisation of Islamic Conference and the Arab League, but really setting the whole story in context and with legal terminology and with history, but also debunking a lot of the comments that have been made by countries who are supporting Israel as well.
Yes, it seemed to me that Ireland, Algeria and South Africa made their experience or projected their own experience, their own narrative, their own history, their own struggle with occupation and their own experience with liberation as well. And hence, it was both instructive, if you will, liberating, not depressing, I want to say. It was instructive that they did share with us that. But then we had this disingenuous, selective, mind-boggling, if not, mind-insulting presentations by the United States and the United Kingdom that I think set everyone aback. You know, they were trampling over international law, expropriating international law, confiscating international legality in order to fit their own little geopolitical calculus on behalf of their little client, Israel. So it was a bit shameful. It was a bit shameless, to be honest. And that's why today We've heard from the Arab League and the Islamic Conference legal opinions that were basically set or apparently revised in order to counter the arguments of the UK and the US. And in that way, I thought it was brilliant and it was entertaining almost, the way they demolished the American and the British arguments.
It was interesting in the sense that Dr. Ralph White, who represented the League of Arab States earlier in that chat, was so precise in the historical context and related everything to legal precedents and agreements dating back to 1917 and making it all very chronological, all very ordered. We've often talked about the Arab League being a toothless organisation. I just wonder whether today there's a change in their attitude and they think, actually, you know what? We can make a difference. They certainly made a difference today.
Yeah, well, that's being a bit overly optimistic of you, Suhail. I mean, it's just an opinion at the legal court, and I think that'll be the end of that. Sometimes this sort of rhetoric reflects impotence more than it reflects, revolutionary thinking, if you will. I think the Arab League has proven impotence the past 4 months to stop the genocide that's unraveling in plain sight in Gaza. But anyway, all that, be that as it may, I think what's really extraordinary is that the British and the Americans made the argument that this is a dispute between two parties. Let them negotiate it. That's basically, in essence, what the British and the Americans said. Why should the ICJ interfere? No one asked them, meaning Israel, to interfere. So let them negotiate it peacefully. So what we've heard from Dr. Wild and Monique Gendron, who represented the Islamic Conference, was, well, first of all, it's not a dispute between two parties, no. There's a 75 years history. There's a 100-year history to show you that, in fact, this is an aggression, a settler colonial setting, that Israel is the aggressor, is the occupier, is the perpetrator of violence, of war, and it is the instigator. And today, it's the expansionist power that confiscated Palestinian land, denies the Palestinian right of self-determination. It's not about dispute between two. It's about the oppression and aggression that must end. It's like saying apartheid South Africa is a dispute between blacks and whites and let them figure it out. No, you don't let them figure it out. You get in and you say what you think as ICJ. The other point was that Monique Gendron made was, what negotiations? Fine, dispute, but what negotiations? And she just cited one Israeli after another saying, there is no negotiations. What are you talking about? Israelis, again, Prime Minister Netanyahu, Prime Minister Sharon, and so on and so forth, we don't want negotiations. We are not going to negotiate. We don't accept a Palestinian state. We don't accept self-determination of the Palestinian people in sovereignty and independence. So again, the counter-arguments to the American and the British were stark, were clear, were comprehensive, and I think they really put them to shame.
Well, we know we'll have to leave it, but of course we'll be revisiting this over the next few weeks, few months, certainly 6 months until that opinion is published by the court. For the moment, thanks very much.